Coming to you live here from Port Moresby, not to be confused with Mr. Mosby. Port Moresby is the sprawling capital of Papua New Guinea, a country north of Australia. The vast anthropological collection at the PNG National Museum and Art Gallery includes masks and carved wooden poles. We are here today with ESL Open Cup Asia Division number 235. I'm, of course, your host, Yaku of Nizaku, and with me today is El Ingeniero Eficiente que corre sin miedo, Light_VIP. How we doing, Light?
What's up, Yaku? It's great to be back. We apologize, everyone, for the stream going down earlier. As a result, we missed out on game 1, but we are jumping in mid-series. We're jumping into game number 2.
Here we go, kicking it off, or continuing it off, here on Oceanborn. Over here in the top left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the top left, we have our blue Zerg player coming out from the land of Korea. He is, of course, going to be representing Team Falcons. We have Rogue.
So what Falcons sound like?
It's not, now that I think about it. Falcons sound more like Falcon Punch. So what do they sound like?
And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have the Chinese Terran player, the Red Terran, leading the series 1-0. It is Oliviera. Here we go. Again, we do apologize for missing out on the first game, but we're at least able to jump in mid-series, and we're jumping into game 1. Oliviera, of course, with the lead, which honestly I'm really... Oh, actually, I was going to say I'm a little bit surprised by, but no. I mean, based on the TVZ that we've seen from Oliviera as of late, he has been on fire. Rogue has been improving quite a lot, quite quickly, but still, Oliviera is a world-class player.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, he's a normal man, but, you know, even normal people can be world-class.
Yeah, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, Mr. World, he is. Still the reigning world champion.
There you go.
If you will, but... yeah, Oliviera, he's pretty much got TVZ down to a science lately. You know, the kind of defensive Zerg style that has been popping up, popularized by the likes of Serral and whatnot. I think Solar and Dark have been exploring it a little bit as well. If there was ever a player who has ever figured out that style and has been able to smash it, it has been Oliviera. The hyper-aggressive parade pushes that just continue to pile on the pressure until your Zerg opponent breaks.
Oh yeah, hyper aggressive, and we'll see if that continues to be the case, especially in the lead up to the Esports World Cup. I'm curious as to the form of Oliviera and whether or not he's trying out different things, different builds. For the time being, very different here. It is 3cc, true, but that is a second Rax already for Oliviera.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's a 3cc before Starport. You know, we're getting some pretty normal economic play, but then I had to do a double take when you mentioned that. That's a barracks. The factory is only now beginning.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the factory was delayed, so an interesting 2-1-1 variation. 3cc, 2-1-1, might I add. So with this, we're going to be building up a pretty hefty bio army. The downside is that Oliviera has very little map control. We have the one Reaper across the map, but no Hellions to help support. So Oliviera's not really looking to deal any economic damage for the time being, is building up towards his eventual stim timing.
Yeah, and it's going to hit like a truck. Rogue, he doesn't really have eyes on this. If he did, I imagine he'd be a little bit greedier right now. As he does still have his standard 6 lings out on the map, not sending them across the map to scout or anything, although we do have one of them fanning out to keep tabs on the third.
Yeah, we have our lings being somewhat active here for Rogue. Meanwhile, back at home, there's that sim that we spoke about. So there's a Starport. We should be seeing a reactor and an add-on swap momentarily as well to get into our drop play. And because, as you mentioned, because of this opener of choice, and the Ling does scout, does get eyes on the additional Raxes, and we see everything. Ling sees everything in the main base, a very important scout here, and Rogue now knows that there's a window where he can be greedy, he can drone, at least until that stim does finish.
Yeah, and we're seeing drones on that production tab. But I'm now on the way. He will need to stop eventually once he finishes saturating this third base, but like you said, he's got this window and he's enjoying the view.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful view here for Rogue. As again, there's no Hellions to really harass, there's no Banshee, there's no Liberator, there's no nothing. So now is the time to drone. And Rogue even being a little bit greedier here, going double Evo Chamber. This means that he's delaying his Baneling Nest, he's delaying his lair as well. Not for too much longer, but he does prioritize his upgrades instead. So yeah, Rogue cutting as many corners as he can, and we'll see if he can get away with it, as Stim is about to finish and the medevacs will soon move out.
Like so many Marines waiting down here, just waiting for the high ground vision.
Oh.
And almost immediately, the Overlord dies.
There you go, the Overlord does go down. Unfortunately, we do kick the Reaper out, as we had to make room for the Marines. So the Marines allowed in these medevacs.
In the medevacs.
True. As we are going to be dropping across the map, Lings are in position, but our goal here is to try and deny the fourth.
Yeah, which should be, there we go. Just a matter of right-clicking on it. Rogue doesn't quite have the Baneling Nest just yet. He is fully saturated on 3 bases though, so he's not going to be hindered too much when it comes to just remaking Lings right now to try to slow this down.
Yeah, is going to be able to hold on, but is contained to 3 bases, and that's all that Oliviera has to do with this army, is just poke around, clear up some creep, and deny the fourth time and time again. Rogue will expand towards the left-hand side. Oliviera is making his way over in that direction. Thankfully, there is a little bit of creep, and Rogue is in position at least with these Lings.
Yeah, these Marines are also very badly stimmed, so Oliviera, yep, taking it safe, just pulling back for now. Doesn't really want to overstep his grounds and give up the map control that he's worked this long to establish.
Exactly. So far, so good, but we don't want to throw it away here for Oliviera. We don't want to overextend and throw away our lead. Back at home, third base is being taken. Tanks are setting up. Oliviera is settling into his own economy. Still being active with the Marines, but alas, the fourth base will not be denied. Not this time, and Rogue is even double expanding, just making sure that he's able to get one of these bases up and running.
Yeah, and Precision Pit on the way as well. So, very greedy play coming out here from Rogue. Really super safe.
Yeah, very greedy indeed. Just taking up quite heavily here, keeping up with the drops initially. Again, it's only a double drop. The rest of the army is staying back at home, so Rogue is able to drone up a little bit more freely here, getting for 3-base saturation, massing up Ling Bane and going straight for the lair. Sorry, straight for the hive.
Yeah, already had the lair. We normally expect the Zerg player to get the lair at around this timing, but Rogue, he goes fast. He's taking shortcuts left and right.
He be zooming. I mean, the hive is on the way. At the same time, Ling Bane catching reinforcements. Not bad. Marines getting caught out, but Oliviera is committing here. That's 3 tanks with the main army. Up.
A terrifying prospect right now, as the Banelings will be able to connect with a whole bunch of SCVs. Not quite getting the Marines, but he will be able to take out a tank as well. So decent damage here from Rogue, but does he have enough left over to stop the tide of Terran coming his way?
That's the question. 1 base goes down. Remember, the Rogue double expanded. He has a 4th base regardless, so is going to be able to maintain his production, is going to be able to maintain his economy, and Rogue, he ignores this main push. He's going across the map for another counterattack.
Trying to force a little bit of an all-in by the looks of things. I mean, he can't be going for a base retreat, right?
Yeah, is going to try to cripple the economy and force the all-in, as you were saying. Bailey's are going to be rolling in. Nice target. Oh my god, the target firing out of Oliviera.
That's been absolutely fantastic. 1 Baneling will connect right at the end there. But unfortunately, that's also all of the Marines, so the Lings are going ham on the mineral line. A lot of Banelings up this ramp and a lot of Queens as well. Tanks are not sieged, and the Banelings will crash. GG, Rogue going to be tying things up 1-1.
GG, well played. Very greedy, very patient play out of Rogue. Time and time again, we saw that Rogue, he never fully engaged with the main army. He would just let it go, let it happen, allow these bases to fall, evacuate it, and just commit to these big counterattacks. It's like, you know what? You can kill my 4th base. I have a backup 5th base anyway, and I can just cripple the economy and force you into the all-in.
Yeah. I was kind of questioning that for a second there from Rogue. I was thinking, like, do you really want to go across the map right now when you have 3 tanks knocking down your natural base? But yeah, it turned out to be the right call here from Rogue. He crippled the economy, he forced the all-in, and then it was just a matter of staying secure at the top of that ramp, getting one good connection on the Marines, and Oliveira just didn't have an army. Not only didn't have an army left, but also didn't have an economy to rebuild that army.
Yeah, did not have the economy, had no sustain there whatsoever, and yeah, unfortunately, Oliviera, he just missed the counterattack. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have left additional supply back at home to defend. Alas, he was completely defenseless. He was not ready for that push and not ready for the counterattack. And with that, we find ourselves in the ace match.
Here we go. I gotta tell you, lad, I wasn't quite expecting a 2-1 here coming out. I wasn't expecting this series to be this close. I was personally expecting more of an Oliveira 2-0, if I'm being honest, but Rogue. I guess I'm underestimating just the pace and the how quickly he's been able to get back in form.
Oh yeah, Rogue, he has been able to improve very quickly here, despite being back only for a couple of months. It's been impressive, and here he is in the top right-hand corner of Alkyone. We have our South Korean Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Team Falcons. It is Rogue.
And over here in the bottom left-hand corner map, spotting all the way here in the bottom left, we of course have our red Terran player coming out from the land of China. He's of course going to be representing Weibo Gaming, WG. We have a normal man. He is Oliviera.
Here we go, and yeah, we're tied up 1-1. We're going all the way to the ace match here, and we weren't really privy to what happened in game 1. At least in game number 2, we saw an interesting build out of Oliviera going 3cc 2-1-1. Rogue was able to successfully scout, able to identify it, able to respond, able to react, and able to be quite greedy in the follow-up there. And yeah, it was just a really solid reaction out of Rogue as to the build of choice from Oliviera.
Yeah, which is really what Rogue does best, isn't it? Just very reactive play. He is typically known to be one of the, I would say one of the better, I'm not sure if intuitive is the right word to use here, but, you know, just when it comes to reactive play, Rogue is definitely at the top when it comes to Zerg.
Oh yeah, and he's looking to, like, at least lay claim to that once again now in his return to competitive form, and we'll see if he can really embrace that here. It's going to be a big win if Rogue can bring Oliviera down, especially considering Oliviera is currently in tip-top form. But last game was very intense. It was a very intense, very short game overall. Things very quickly escalated out of control. On a map like Alkyone, I expect a longer game. I expect more of a back and forth. I'm happy to sink my teeth into this map and into this ace match.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I get what we're just saying. We're going to be seeing Turtle Terran coming up here, and we're going to be seeing the Zerg player just take every other base on the map. Just try to starve out Oliviera here. Oliviera, win condition is make sure that he can mine from a 5th. Rogue's win condition, just deny that over and over again.
We'll see if he can. See if he can deny that base. As we get into this, a big shout out to iStan in the chat. Papi, oh my god, for gifting a tier 1 sub to the community. Thank you so much. Gracias, papi. Gracias. Thank you.
Muchos, papi.
Ah, mucho. Thank you so much for the support, iStan. We always do appreciate it. iStan he's always there every single day. Usually he's the first to arrive. He's the first to be satisfied.
Verify.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, to receive satisfaction, yeah.
It's true. It's very selfish. It's fine. As we said, we love you, iStar. We love you. As behind this, once again, we're going for a 3cc, but oh, interesting. This time it's a different variation of 3cc 2-1-1.
Yeah, this time he's actually incorporating a couple of Hellions. We did go for I would say something a bit more standard when it comes to 2-on-1, which is you get your first racks, you get your factory, and then you get your second racks. This is all scouted by Rogue, by the way. But yeah, a little bit more standard this time coming out from Oliviera, but he is also getting a couple of Hellions thrown into the mix, so they're just kind of making sure that he is able to be out on the map as quickly as possible, not going to have to wait until he has those 60 Marines.
Yeah, as you were saying, like to kind of put a little bit more emphasis on that. Both game 2 and game 3, it's been 3cc 2-on-1, but different variations. In the last game, you expressed your kind of surprise in seeing such a fast second racks and no Hellions with the earlier variation. This time, this is more standard. There's a much more standard version of this. Because of these Hellions, we can actually pose a threat to the creep tumors and even threaten the mineral lines a little bit more. Not too much, but at least a little bit more map control here now in favor of Oliviera. The downside is that Rogue saw everything. As you mentioned, he's fully aware of what's going on.
Hey, you know, it doesn't happen too often, but when it does, sometimes the Zerg player just leaves a little tiny gap in their defenses, and these two Hellions go straight into the main base. The drones line up. Ooh. And you have yourself a barbecue.
That's what Terran dreams are made of, Papi. Oh my god. And we do see Rogue actually embracing something different. So he's been droning this entire time. He has been droning up. He has been focusing on his economy, which is the right call to make. But that is a Roach Warren on the way, not Ling Bane.
Yeah, interesting choice here coming out from Rogue. As in the previous game, he was extremely Ling Bane heavy. In fact, we weren't quite able to get into our Hive Tech. The game ended too soon, but I imagine it was going to be just straight up Ling Bane into Ultras if we did get that far. This time, very different style. Still making Lings, was mostly making safety Lings for the time being, but Rogue getting +1 range weapons, focusing a lot more on his Roach Ravager, which is an interesting diversion to make. Not really sure what prompted this from Rogue.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little more defensive. I would imagine this more Ling Bane counteracting style is less effective on a larger map like Alkionis, so maybe Rogue is just getting ready for a longer game and is just going to take a very different role. Very different role here for Rogue, just being the defender instead. He does have the opportunity to maybe even go for an all-in if we cut workers earlier on, so we'll see if Rogue does decide to cut workers or if we go back into droning after we deflect the initial push.
Yeah, we'll have to keep our eyes on that production tab as 13 roaches are on the way, and we'll also have to keep our eyes on the worker count. Rogue has stopped at 3 base saturation. This 4th base for now only going to be utilized to create more units, and that's a lot of roaches on the way.
That is a lot of roaches, and again, I'm really curious to see if we go for another wave of roaches after this, and it looks like we are going for another wave. Okay, Rogue is committing, and as you mentioned, this base is only for lava. No 4 base saturation. We cut at 66. We're making nothing but Roach Ravager, and we are getting ready for a push.
Here we go. Oliviera has been poking around that 4th base. Has noticed that it's not saturated despite being done for quite a while, so we'll see if he's able to kind of put 2 and 2 together here, as he's kind of setting up for a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a push, but a little bit of a pressure.
Yeah, he is poking out at the same time. The counterattack does find a tank. Not a bad pick-off here for these Lings. At the same time, here comes the Roach Ravager pushing right through the center. Now, Oliviera does spot the move out. He spots the army, but does he have enough to defend? Does he have enough in position?
Yeah, losing that tank definitely hurts in this defense now. You have 2 tanks to work with, which might be enough. We don't have that many Ravagers right now. It's all about how well these Marines can buffer.
Yeah, the first tank goes down. We have 2 more behind this. I mean, the Marines, they do take down the Roaches. We're running out of them. The Ravagers looking a little bit more exposed. And it looks like Oliviera is going to be able to get on top of this.
That he is, but he loses all of his tanks, and there are more Roaches on the way. SCV's now providing more of a buffer. Biles not landing. Great start stepping coming out here from Oliviera, but it looks like that's just too much Zerg.
There's barely too much. The SCVs go down. I just realized we don't have WSS Game Heart. But 22 SCVs go down in the defense, and it looks like we have broken the 3rd base location. More Ravagers on the way. It was a close defense, but alas, Oliviera barely did not have enough.
Yeah, probably did as well as he could in that situation, but the math just wasn't on his side.
Exactly, as it looks like the Roaches are going to be overwhelming the third base. I mean, losing that one tank earlier was huge, as you pointed out. If we had even one extra tank with that defense, then that could have made the difference there in whether or not we would have been broken. So, alas, every unit does count, or did count in the lead up to the all-in. And we can see that Oliviera is now stuck on 2 bases. Does have a planetary up and running, to be fair. Like, he has an economy to work with.
Yeah, and he still has his production intact. It's just... it's going to be very difficult for him to break out of this contain.
Oh yeah, it is going to be difficult. And Rogue, he's going for the planetary as well. He does recognize it is going to shut it down. The Wiles will connect.
Oh. I love how he herded these SCVs into a corner there in order to maximize the use of corrosive bile. So yeah, planetary goes down, and since we don't have game heart, I have to do a little bit of math. So 19 more SCVs go down that. Plus a couple of mules.
There you go. The mules, the SCVs all did fall. You can see Oliviera trying to retake that third base, but alas, Rogue, he is here to knock Oliviera down once again. The supply does not lie, and Rogue just has far too much momentum on his side.
Yeah, he's maxed out, and that's double, straight up double the supply that Oliviera has. This is a very tight defense here coming out from Oliviera. He's actually chasing this back.
Yeah, that was maybe the best fight Oliviera could have hoped for. The tanks stood strong, the Liberator as well. The Biles were trying to focus on the Libs. One Liberator did fall, but that did a great job of just kind of like diverting the attention of the Ravagers away from the tanks. And that was an impressive defense by Oliviera. That was the first step on the road to recovery, but we still are lacking in workers. We still barely have any SCVs.
Yeah, some situations where that was a very efficient trade for Oliviera, but for the time being, Rogue can afford to take inefficient trades. He still has a better economy. He doesn't really have a bank. I mean, he's just spent all of his gas. But he is still mining. He can still remake. It's still going to cost him way less to remake his army compared to Oliviera, where it's going to cost him way more to rebuild his core units. Now, in fairness, he didn't actually lose any of his tanks back there. He lost one Liberator and he lost a bunch of Marines, but those are a bit more expendable right now.
Yeah, now what I'm concerned about here is that Rogue, he hasn't been droning. Like, we have saturation at the 4th, but that's only because we're running out of, like, minerals elsewhere. Like, in the main base, we're transferring workers over towards the 4th. The drone count is still very low for Rogue, which means if Oliviera can pull off another amazing defense, like the one that we just saw, then Oliviera can bounce back.
Yeah, economies are starting to even out with the power of mules. Oliviera actually has better mineral income right now. Gas income not looking as good, but I mean, he's not as gas intensive. His army isn't as gas intensive as Rogue's.
Yeah, but we're getting on top of the tanks. The tanks are going down. There's one tank left. The Biles, they will connect. And it looks like we have broken through. There just was not enough of a buffer, not enough Marines to help protect those tanks. And Rogue once again is breaking through. At the same time across the map, there is a drop. Drones are going down. But Rogue has done it, and Rogue takes the series 2-1.
GG. Nicely done here from Rogue. Again, game number 3, that was probably the best defense that I think Oliviera could have pulled off, considering he kind of scouted the all-in too late, but I mean, that's kind of the crux of the issue, right? By the time he did realize what was coming his way, he just didn't have the numbers on his side. He didn't have enough tanks, he didn't have enough of a Marine buffer. He had a pretty good wall outside that third base location, but yeah, unfortunately, that wasn't where Rogue was fighting. That wasn't where Rogue entered.
Yeah, unfortunately not. There was an opening available, and likewise, just not enough Marines or not enough bio to help protect all those tanks. The tank line was good, but on its own, it is quite fragile. And with that, GG, well played. Rogue does advance on. Oliviera is knocked out in one of the earlier rounds, and we're going to be following Rogue into his next series.
Yeah, I just realized after you pointed that out, Oliviera is knocked out in the first round that he plays in. Not only that, but also in a TVZ. That is not at all what I was expecting, looking at Oliviera's form specifically in the TVZ matchup in these past couple of weeks. That's a very impressive result here from Rogue.
Oh yeah, very impressive. And again, a very different kind of Zerg player compared to someone like Cyril, for example. Rogue was hyper-aggressive. Right in Game 2, we saw some mass Ling Bang counter-attacks to punish the pushes of Oliviera. Likewise, here in Game 3, all in, right? 3 base Roach Ravager all
Yeah.
in as well. Just, again, very aggressive play from Rogue and is able to take the win here. So GG. And with that, let's have a look at the bracket. What's been going on?
Yeah, let's have a look at a bracket. And I gotta say, like, before we get into some of these matches, I was not quite expecting the turnout that